New set, new look, new network. Catch the Tonya G Show every Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. on WeBelieveDigital.com. Let's talk politics, business, the future, and more. Interested in being a guest? Email viralstreamtv@gmail.com. The Tonya G Show, where the guest is the star of the show. Every Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. live streamed on WeBelieveDigital.com. Welcome to the Tonya G Show, where we talk politics, business, health, community, and so much more. Today, my guest is Christaine Williams, an agent at the Mississippi Department of Corrections. She has been in law enforcement and corrections for 25 years and is certified in law enforcement with an educational background in criminal justice. She is active in the behavioral health community, a certified state instructor with the Mississippi Board of Standards and Training for Law Enforcement, and a certified crisis intervention instructor. She's here to talk about her role as an agent in addition to mental health and the Black community. Woo, what a mouthful, Miss Christaine. And look, y'all, that's not even the whole thing on her bio. That's
no, don't read all that.
That's just the little bit. But thank you so much for being here, Christaine.
Thank you.
So I wanted you to come here because I heard you speak at the special meeting of the City Council. They had an agenda held at New Horizon Church on May 4th. And I just want to get your thoughts on what you thought of the council meeting overall.
Overall, I thought it was a great event, to bring everybody to, I call the policy makers, the people who make the rules and regulations to govern our city and our day-to-day life.
Right.
That was there in one room to actually hear what the other person had to say. And everybody had that opportunity to actually speak from your perspective about your agency, whatever it was that you needed to get out, so everybody can hear it at the same time instead of being a relayed message. Well,
exactly.
Like somebody said this, everybody was right there at the table.
So you felt like it was informative, and you feel like we should have those type of town hall meetings in the future?
I do. It was very informative. Some things I was aware of, some I was not, some I thought but wasn't sure about. Those was answered. To have all the entire council there, I don't think all the supervisors was there, but hopefully this is something that President Banks and the clergy, Pastor Cruder, Bishop Cruder, would consider doing. The facilities was great.
It was.
It was spacious.
Right.
You could hear, it was welcoming, people
Exactly.
was there. So, it was the perfect place to host it. And I just really believe, if we're going to start to combat some of the crime, why not start at the church? Because within the African American community, basically everything we have has always started and rooted right at the church.
Absolutely. The title of the agenda was Tackling Jackson's Crime Crisis. Do you think that Jackson has a crime crisis?
I think we have a lot of crime, but I'm not sold on the crisis because I just feel like me personally, from working in law enforcement and then going into the mental health part of it, the behavior, not so much as mental, the behavior part of it.
Right.
I think we have what's the word, how I want to put it? We're in a denial to a degree about what the core of the problem may be.
Gotcha.
I think crime is just something that happens on the back end, but I think the early intervention is what is going to be important, whereas the intervention for an adolescent child, whether it be mental health issues going on or family homeless or whatever, we got to get in there in the beginning. Because if we don't get in the beginning, this is the result of the back end, what we're dealing with now.
Absolutely, Christy. And I also think that when you use the word crisis, it incites fear. And I also think when you're only showing the deaths, then people only focus on death, and you think that that's all that crime is. So some of the statistics that I have is, and this was at the council meeting, there were 139 deaths in the city of Jackson. We have a population of 161,000.
Okay.
So when you say crisis out of 161,000, 139 deaths, while death is important and we shouldn't kill anyone, and I'm not dismissing, anybody losing their life, but we just have to be careful when we say crisis and how it relates to black people because of the narrative of how you think of black men anyway. So if you're thinking about killings and crisis and that's reported on the news, people often are scared to come to Jackson because they think we're just killing folks left and right. You understand what
Absolutely.
I'm saying? And to me, the crimes that are committed or the murders that are committed are between people who know each other. Would you not agree with that being in law enforcement?
That's part of it, but there are some isolated incidents.
Absolutely.
Some of it, most of it is people within each other that know each other. But I think the police department and the criminal justice people, we got to make sure we tell the public what is what.
Right.
If it's me and you know each other and we had a
Right.
conflict and somebody, then you got to say they was acquaintance.
Exactly.
But if you know that person is not related, or you just don't do it because you think they may be, make sure you know, because one of the things about when you mention crisis, and I guess, going back to the training that I'm certified in, the conflict management, there's a part in that teaching where it breaks down a crisis is a conflict that's never resolved. So if you have conflicts that's never resolved, then it does turn into a crisis.
Right.
So when I say never resolved, if you have economic poverty, lack of medical care, education,
Right.
homelessness, all of that actually turns into the crisis.
Exactly.
So, but you got to go and resolve the conflict so it doesn't turn into a crisis.
You're absolutely right about that. So we were talking about the black church and this event being held at the church. Do you think the black church should be doing more in the black communities?
Yes. Well, let me just say this. I've had experience with a lot of the black churches that's out there working. I see them go out and they're trying to get the people in. But sometimes the people we're trying to get in is reluctant because
it's church.
Because it's church. And then for just, I love my God. I am a church God-fearing woman.
Indeed.
But sometimes us church folks could really make somebody feel like they the scum of the earth.
You're absolutely right.
And that's what we got to quit being so churchy, to the point that we make people that we need to save and bring in and feel comfortable
Exactly.
don't want to be around us. And that's the thing. But it's overall from within, I've been dealing with the churches or the different organizations. I see a big difference in them. I mean, I've seen the churches step up in ways, and they're never, I can speak for my own church before the crisis hit. It used to be a time that you wouldn't dare would have heard of suicide being talked about inside of the sanctuary. We didn't have a problem about doing that. Our pastor allowed people to come in and talk to our kids about it. It's those kind of things that we got to get out of, well, you ain't supposed to say that in the church, or you ain't supposed to do. Teach them better.
That's right.
Why not talk about it right there?
Right.
Where, put those kids comfortable enough, or whomever it is, your parishioners, where they can talk to you about it, or whatever it should be.
You are absolutely right about that, Christy. So we were talking about crime and economic disparity. Do you think the two are codependent? Do you feel like a lot of the crime that is being committed in Jackson is because of lack of opportunity and jobs?
I'm kind of on the fence about that, honestly. Some of them is just, the crimes are just, you have to shake your head and like, I don't even, why? Why would you even go do that? Why, and then some, you should never justify crime, but some things you can understand why it happened,
Right.
if that make any sense. But I just don't believe that all of it is economics. I'm just that's just my belief. I think part of it is a choice that some make to actually do the things that they do.
Well, we're going to go to a break. Can you put my line up there, sir, for the shows before we go to break? And when we come back, Christy, I want to talk about just the councilmen and just what do you think they're doing in their leadership roles, what they could be doing more of when we come back from break. But we're going to go to break. I thank you so much for tuning in to WeBelieveDigital.com. On Monday nights, we have Socrates Garrett live, and his show starts at 7:30 p.m. Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m., you have yours truly, the Tonya G Show. Thursday at 6:30, the doors of the church are open. Friday at 6:30 p.m., the Mississippi Link live. And Saturday at 10 a.m., the USDA Agventurist update. Be sure to tune in. We'll be right back with Miss Christaine Williams right after the break. Hi, I'm Tonya Gray with your Insurance Minute. When you buy a life insurance policy, you're making an agreement with an insurance company to pay a monthly premium in exchange for a payment or death benefits to your beneficiaries at the time of your death. You could purchase a life insurance policy that lasts for just a few years or for your entire life with death benefits ranging anywhere from several $1,000s to several $1 million. If you were to die unexpectedly, will anyone in your life be financially impacted? If the answer is yes, you might want to consider a life insurance policy. Life insurance helps protect the people in your life who need you the most. Legally, your beneficiaries can use a death benefit payout any way they wish. A life insurance death benefit is meant to replace the income of the policyholder, so beneficiaries can use the payout on whatever expenses they have after the death of the policyholder. Contact the KPG agency for a free quote to start a policy today. We're back with the Tonya G Show and my guest, Miss Christy Williams. So I wanted to get your thoughts on just the councilmen and the questions that they asked at the meeting, and what do you think our leadership? Do you think our leadership is doing a great job as councilmen in our legislatures, just from listening at the council meeting?
Okay, I do think that they're headed in the right direction. Councilman Banks, I think that was a great thing for him to do, to try to get that together. Well, not try, he did get it together. There was a few things that I did inform him that I thought he had kind of would, for the next meeting, to make sure, those things are accounted for, the agencies, or, if we
Can you share some of that?
One of them was the Department of Corrections. I told him it was make sure that important, because if you got people coming back from the Department of Correction into your community, it need to be what I call is the soft handoff. Coming from the Department of Corrections, coming back into your community, then those people should know, I have these resources to lean on.
Right.
When I come out of the Department of Correction, you have what is called a discharge plan. And that discharge plan would consist of what is available to me in the city of Jackson. One of the things under the House Bill 585 was when they're released from prison, that the Department of Correction makes sure that they got valid identification, coming out of the facility. Because those was one of the things when people come back into the community that they wasn't able to obtain, or it took them a while to get valid driver's license, ID card.
Why is there a process to get that?
Because you think about if a person been locked up for
20 years,
5, 10, 15 years, you got to go get a birth certificate, you got to get a Social Security card, you got to find an ID to get all of that information. So a lot of times, I can speak for myself. When I actually, was over a caseload, it took me sometimes writing a letter or just, giving them some information from within the system, that we go and stamp so that they would actually have some kind of authentic document just to obtain some of their driver's records, or, because they couldn't find anything, vital services, the vital records of some of the places that, we would have to make contact with to actually try to get these. So I think overall, their mindset about what they're trying to get done, the council, is great. It was a lot of information that was provided in the meeting. I think some of the questions asked by some of the councilmen, it was great. It was great questions. Information about grants, funding, how could they obtain it? What could they do to make this a better process? For whatever agency it was that was up speaking. What they wanted to know, what could they do? And anytime you want to know what can you do, that means you want to see a change within your city.
So Congressman Thompson talked about grants.gov and there being different programs available for the city. And I think he said there was a program for everything that he had heard mentioned there that evening. Grants have been around for a long time, Christine. Why is the city not taking advantage of the grants that already exist to get us out of some of the problems or crises that we're in?
One of the things I've learned by, I hadn't written the grant, but I've been privileged to sit at the table when they're writing. And for us to be in Hinds County, the county and the city will have to just work together to get the grant. There is no other way around it. When we look at surrounding cities around us, one of the things we was looking at recently, Hattiesburg. I mean, it's pouring into Hattiesburg and Jones County.
Grants are
like no other because they are working together. It's the city and the county coming together, and the tri-county area around there, Jones County, Laura, all of that. And the reason I'm saying is when I say the CIT, the Crisis Intervention,
and we're going to talk about that too.
With that, that's how I learned how they really just work together, and they even tap into their federal system that's down there.
Because won't they match? They will match whatever funds are already.
You have usually so much funds to set aside, and then they will come in with theirs. But you have a specific thing that you got to do with the money. You can't just get the grant and
do
go
whatever
do what
you want to
do. No, because somebody's going to be held accountable for it. But the grants have been there. But the biggest thing that I found that we're just not working together as a county and a city.
Okay, can you kind of expound on that a little bit more? Like, what type of opposition are we facing, or the city and the county? Like, what?
I just think it's egos. Honestly, that's Christaine's opinion now. That's me. When we talk about who's gonna control it, that was one of the questions I've gotten many times when I've sat in meetings with different things.
Who should control it?
Well, it goes. I wouldn't really say it should be a city thing or a county thing, but if the grant is going to be for everybody that's in the county, then it probably should fall up under the county. But I think the city still should have a very valid voice in that.
I agree,
and that's how it's just going to come to the table and everybody coming to agreements. And a lot of times I would say the biggest thing to do, what I would suggest is bring a neutral party in that's not even associated with the city or the county. And, just like if it's a committee that's whatever, a task force or whatever that's right there, that's making the decision about getting the grant, then those people vote that whoever that person in. But it should be a neutral person that's not obligated to the city or the county that actually to run that grant.
That sounds like something we need to make happen. We should not have things not getting done because of ego. I mean,
no.
That's ridiculous.
And I'm going to tell you, a lot of times when I was looking at some of the mental health grants and the funding that was coming through the Department of Justice, and I was like, I know we should be able to get this, to read some of them, we qualify for it. When the criminal aspects or, people with mental illness that's inside a facility or the county jails, it is money for that. That's sitting out there.
Are there not grant writers on staff?
I have no.
With the city or the county?
I think it is.
Okay. Well, we're going to move right along, Ms. Christaine. So let's talk about this infrastructure and the water crisis that the city of Jackson is facing. Representative Bro Brown got up and he talked about how they had this great proposal to get $15 million from the legislators, and he thought for sure that the speaker was going to pass that legislation. So why is it so hard for the legislators to approve that $15 million for us to get these roads fixed?
I am not sure. I think a lot of it is political. That's just my opinion. One of the things they kept asking, and I actually was looking for it, and I saw somebody else made a comment about it the other day, was a plan. And that's what they kept saying. They don't have a plan, and they just couldn't give us an open book like an open checkbook to just say, here you go. That's what they kept saying. Where's your plan? Was some of the things that they was asking, where's the plan? So I can understand that if I'm going to give you this amount or whatever it may be, I need to know what you're going to do with it. That way you can be held accountable for it.
Okay, so there wasn't a plan of action. Okay.
That's what I was told. I don't know what to say.
I got you. Representative Bo Brown also said in that meeting that, and I'm paraphrasing, that we should build some sort of mental cages of some sort to house people who commit minor infractions. What are your thoughts on that?
We are not in a barbaric time. We just can't, because somebody have committed a minor infraction, or we just can't do that. You can't put people in a cage and just say,
we're just going to lock them up for throwing around bubblegum paper, huh?
You can't do that. Even now, I can go back to my own training. When I went through the police academy 20-some years ago, we didn't have the training that's available to officers now, where pretty much it was, do what I tell you to do. I'm going to put you in jail and lock you up until I let you out. We can't do that anymore, because the federal government is not going to allow you to do it. And just the liability that you put yourself or the county or municipality or state at risk for somebody that's, went in the store and picked up a $1 bag of chips.
Right.
And you keep them in jail for 6 months.
Hold that thought, Christy. Before we go to break, I want to remind you about our weekly show lineup. Tuesday at 7:30 p.m., Socrates Garrett Live. Wednesday at 6:30 p.m., The Tonya G Show. Thursday at 6:30 p.m., The Doors of the Church Are Open. Friday at 6:30, The Mississippi Link Live. And Saturday at 10 a.m., the USDA Ag Venturist Update. Be sure to tune in. We'll be right back after the break with my guest, Christaine Williams with the Mississippi Department of Corrections.
Welcome to the Adventurous Podcast. I'm your host, Deidre Perry, and these are my co-hosts. And weekly, we will be coming to you to bring you the latest information in the world of agriculture. We invite you to join us every Saturday from 10 to 10:30. Join us. Come on, take an adventure.
Have you had your Earthblend coffee today? At Earthblend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earthblend Coffee. To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
You're tuned in to the Tonya G Show. I'm back here with my guest, Christy Williams. Miss Williams, in the meeting, Councilman Stokes talked about wanting a greater AFT presence. Do we need a greater presence of law enforcement in our black communities?
Right now within the city, I know that there is a shortage of police officers. They are currently trying to get them staffed. But as far as a greater presence, when he was talking about the state agencies and federal agencies, ATF, Bureau of Narcotics, there actually are here. They just not in plain clothes.
Well, the gentleman did say that. Go
Director
ahead.
Maxwell alluded to that. With all due respects, and it's quoted. I think he said, "Councilman Stokes, we are in your community. We're just not in plain marked vehicles." As I think is what the word that he used. So. With that being said, when I did speak and I explained to them, they have been here for years, but for some reason, and I guess with the administration changes, we stopped collaborating, the agencies. When I say collaborating, I mean the Department of Corrections, the Jackson Police Department, Sheriff Department, the Federals, the Marshals, NBN. It was a group of us, and it used to be a time where it would maybe 4 different sets of groups, and we just hit the city at the same time. It just all over. Back then, we was called the Jump Out Boys.
Now, when you say back then, are you talking 90s, early 2000s?
Early 2000s, mid 2000s. It would have to be within the last 10 years, 7 to 10 years. Everybody worked together. It was nothing, for, like I was explaining to you earlier, I'm in a suit by day and BDUs and a baseball hat with hair pulled up by night. The people that was on supervision didn't know if if their officer was going to be out there, because they didn't know. We would hit the city, and the Bureau of Narcotics had the helicopter.
Oh, wow.
And they used to call it the ghetto bird. That's what it was called back in the day. So those are times, but we have a whole different element of the criminal mind. For some,
talk about that, Christy, from how it changed from how it was 10 years ago to what you're facing now.
It's a lack of care for life. Is what I see it as. From my experience, working in the courtroom, supervising on the streets, raising a 19-year-old now, a young man, and that I constantly try to tell, hey, people don't care.
They don't.
About taking your life. And that's the thing that's, our kids now seem like they're just heartless, or doesn't have a lifeless, in a sense, just a lifeless body.
Where do you think that comes from?
I think it comes back from that root of we have lost our parenting and want to be friends and not their parents. And I think that's very important, that we got to be the parents and not the friend. I don't care if my son ever think I'm his friend.
Exactly.
It really doesn't matter to me. Or, my nieces or whatever. They're grown now, but they still see me as aunt,
right.
or you can't be their friends. And I see,
Do you think it's the music? Do you think it's social media? What do you think is the core of why they are so heartless, or this lack of fear for authority?
I think it's all of it, but I think the biggest thing is at home, and I'm a stickler for. I don't believe in, because there was no dad or no mom in the house, or if it's just one parent, that this child is just going to be a statistic. I'm not, because see, I did it by myself. It wasn't an easy job, but at the same time, I made a sacrifice, and that's the difference. I think as parents, we got to make the sacrifice. Once we bring these children into this world, they come first and not us. Now that I look at myself, now that my son, I've done my part as far as getting him to that age, I still got a little bit more time to enjoy myself. You do. But sometimes you gotta make that sacrifice and just do what you gotta do for that child, to get that child to give. And let me just say this, and even doing all that, it's still not a guarantee that they're gonna do. But at least you can say, I done my part. I done my part now, because I'm that old cliche, I can lead you to the water, but I can't make you drink it.
That's exactly right.
So, but I think it starts from home. And I tell people, they put it all on the teachers. The teacher's not teaching, the teacher's not doing this. And education starts in the house.
Well, Christy, let me say this too, because we know that just because people have children doesn't mean they know how to parent.
That's true.
Everybody that is a mother doesn't know how to instill values or integrity or morals in their child. So I think that it is up to everybody else too. It is the teacher's responsibility. We don't have a community. There is no black community anymore to look out to help a black mother who may not know how to be a mother. You know what I'm saying? So we put all of this pressure on parents to be the ones, but just because you having a child and having relations doesn't mean you know how to be a parent. But I want to move on to the mental health aspect of everything. Talk to me, how about how you got into the career of corrections and how mental health kind of intertwined with that.
Well, I was assigned to one of the judges in Hinds County. I'm not going to call their name. But I was in court, and I was the lead officer, which I'm still the lead officer in that particular court. How many years now? Almost 20 years. But I didn't have any idea, and I always tell the younger people, you never know who's watching you.
True.
So be at your best.
That is true.
No matter what. So I was, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I was actually in court, and I got a message from the judge, and it was actually a letter. And I was like, oh, God, what could this be from the judge? So at that point, it was explaining to me that she had been watching me, how I interacted with people in the courtroom, and especially if they had any type of mental behaviors or disorders or whatever may be going on, I always found resources for them within the city. And the judge wasn't even aware of some of the resources that I was actually finding. So at first I was like, I'm a cop. This ain't for me.
Right.
Not the mental part of it. I'm not ready to be dealing with these. But see, then I thought about it when I was down at the sheriff department before I got to corrections. For some reason, everybody that came to jail with a mental issue, I ended up dealing with them. Right. And I used to tell my sergeant, I said, what are y'all trying to say about me? If y'all keep giving me all of
the mental people.
And he was like, well, you seem to be the one that can communicate with them. And I was like, okay, whatever y'all say. But little did I know that was the beginning of what I, the latter part of my career. Honestly, I didn't see this part coming. Mm-hmm. That me going all over the country and the state. That's
a beautiful thing, Chris.
Talking about it, because I went on and took the task of doing a pilot mental health court in Hinds County for people that have a pre-existing mental condition that get caught up in the criminal justice system to try to divert them. And then I ended up on several task force where we try to divert them before they get there. And that's when we got to the crisis intervention team. And it's just and when they say crisis intervention team, it's law enforcement, your mental health, local mental health community center, which is Hinds Behavior Health here, and you got community partners, and then your hospitals. And our point of entry here is St. Dominic's and Merit Health. Mm-hmm. And what it is, we bring in certified officers and train them on a 40-hour course. And believe me, if you ever get the chance, I want you to come, because it's a true transformation. On Monday, when they get there, they looking like this here, because, they've been voluntold that they got to come. But by Friday at graduations, you can see the light in their eyes, because we give it to them, and we not only just teach it different things to them, they actually get to go out to facilities. One we've been able to go to, but...
Hold that thought,
okay.
Christy. Before we go to break, I want to remind you about our weekly show lineup. Tuesday at 7:30 p.m., Socrates Garrett Live. Wednesday at 6:30 p.m., The Tonya G Show. Thursday at 6:30 p.m., The Doors of the Church Are Open. Friday at 6:30 p.m., the Mississippi Link Live, and Saturday at 10 a.m., the USDA Adventurous Update. Be sure to tune in to WeBelieveDigital.com. Share, like, subscribe on Facebook. Tell a friend. We'll be right back after the break.
The Mississippi Link is an African-American female-owned newspaper with a trusted voice that is highly respected throughout the city, state, and nation. Our motto, keepers of the knowledge for people who speak the truth, since 1993. Tune in each Friday night at 6:30 p.m. Central and hear a live broadcast of stories in our weekly publication. The Link significantly influences the thoughts, attitudes, and buying decisions of its readers. Call us at 601-368-8481 for your advertising needs. If you would like to receive a newspaper in the mail each week, our annual subscription is only $52 per year. That is only $1 per week for you to stay informed regarding many stories that you can only get in the Mississippi Link. Sign up today at themississippilink.com and click on Home Delivery.
So, Christy, you were saying that with the CI, was it?
CIT,
The
Crisis
CIT.
Intervention Team.
That there's a 40-hour training. Talk about that again.
It's a 40-hour training for law enforcement. You already have to be certified. Your agency will send you. Heinz Behavior Health is the center point of it. Everything starts and ends right at something. You have part of the state statute of CIT. It started out in Memphis, Tennessee, and everybody have mirrored that curriculum for Crisis Intervention Team. We actually was trained by the people from Memphis. Pretty much that's what your instructors, the instructors that you have here in Mississippi was trained by the original people because they're so close to us.
Gotcha.
But, and it's just to divert people that's in a crisis, a mental health crisis from the jail. Once the officer is certified, like I say, they actually go out to the facilities and actually talk with. Because of COVID, we weren't able. Some of it we had to do virtual, but prior to COVID and prayerfully after, they will actually be able to go back out. Like we toured Merit Health. They have a room which is a soft room, and you would never know it was there. And it's just what it said. It's a soft room where if somebody's in a mental health crisis and they place them in a room, they can't do anything to hurt themselves in no kind of way. It's just things like that as law enforcement, you have no idea really what a person is going through. And that's the purpose of it, just making sure, that empathy. We can teach them everything else, but you cannot teach a person empathy. It got to be in your heart.
It does. It truly does. Talk about what mental illness looks like, because you were saying if somebody had a mental illness when they were coming in, you talked to them. What were some of the episodes that maybe somebody was going through? And what does mental illness look like? Because I believe when you stood up, you were saying we need to know what schizophrenia looks like. We need to know what it looks like if somebody is having suicidal thoughts. So kind of talk about your experiences dealing with people with mental illness.
It's going to be, you got to have I guess that feeling that something is just off or not right with that person. But a lot of time it's not what you say, it's how you say it to them. It's how you approach that person. A lot of times we are so judgmental or put that stigma because it's the lack of knowledge. We don't know or expect, because they have class mental illness with what's the word? Demonic.
Yeah.
I put it that way. Like it's the evil spirit that's in you and need to be cast out of you.
Right.
And that's what I'll say we in the African American community have deemed mental illness as a demonic spirit. And I'm not saying that there is not demonic spirits, but at the same time, if a person has a mental health issue, it may require them to, go and get some treatment, whether it's therapy, medication, it may be both. But I think those are the things that we got to make sure we get past that stigma, because when we say how mental illness look, anybody can be walking around with a mental illness and we would never know it. I said it once before and I said it again. Mental illness is not contagious.
Exactly.
It's containable. It is not going to jump off me and jump on you and then you got it. But sometimes that's how people look at it, as if they think, I'm
Well, you're afraid.
Yeah.
You don't know, in ignorance, when you don't know, you kind of categorize people and you're judgmental and all of that. But can you talk about an instance where maybe you were arresting somebody or in a situation where somebody was having a mental illness episode and how you were able to maybe talk them down or de-escalate the situation?
Right in my front door about a month ago. It was a Sunday evening. Yes, I'm the nosy neighbor.
Well, I mean.
And I heard some commotion up the street. And I was like, what in the world is going on? I saw AMR. Then I saw Jackson Police. And I looked again and I saw it was 3 officers. One of the 3 officers was one of them that had gone through a class that I had taught as an instructor.
How about that?
So quite naturally, if I'm the instructor and you was a student, I'm not going to take over your scene. I don't, out of pure respect for that officer, because I knew that officer is great.
They're trained, right.
Trained, did well in the class, and actually is just great at what she does. So I didn't say anything, and I just kind of stood there back, kind of little bit back, being nosy. So as it escalated with the individual, and I said, oh goodness, what I'm gonna have to intervene. But I didn't. But once that officer turned around and actually locked eyes, realized I was there, and I said, do you need me? And she was like, yes.
Yeah.
So I walked on up the street and didn't even know the young lady's name. And I asked the other officer, I said, what is her name? And so it was complete chaos. I'm talking about, she was screaming. Some of the AMR people had got agitated. The officers really couldn't restrain her. It was really chaotic. So in the midst of all of that chaos, I called her name, and it was real soft. It was so soft that nobody thought that she heard me. And she turned around and say, ma'am.
Oh, how about that?
And so the AMR lady looked at me like, what
savior are you?
What kind of powers you using? What is this stuff that you got?
Right.
That we need? What are you doing? And she said, you done let us wrestle for 30 minutes. And you just come up here and you call her
just
name.
Like that.
And she just and then so she was like telling me what they was trying to do, and I said, no ma'am, they're not going to do that to you. And so to make sure that I was letting them know that she was in a crisis, but yet when they're in a crisis, they still can remember things, and they know now.
So she knew you. She
didn't really know my name, but what I asked her, I said they're not going to do anything to you. Can you just lay down and let them help you? And she was trying to tell me what else. I said, no, they're not going to do it. I said, I tell you what, do you know who I am? And she said, yes, ma'am. You the neighbor that stay down the street. And I said, okay. I said, so I'm not going to let anything happen to you because I'm going to still stay down the street.
Right.
I said, but I just need you to lay down and let them help you and let them get you to the hospital. I said, because right now you need some help. Mm-hmm. And she said, well, okay, I'm going to do that since you said it.
Oh, wow.
So, but it's just that kind of thing that you just know.
You need more of that in law enforcement.
It is. And that's one of the things that I talked about at the meeting about the buy-in need to come from up top. If we're going to get it done, we got to get the leaders. We got to get the policymakers, the lawmakers, the clergy that got the congregations.
Absolutely.
We need them to come sit down and get, we know their time is very valuable.
Absolutely.
And short. But that's why we went and developed a training. Well, I say I came up with it. I just called some people and say, hey, I got an idea. Let's do this. We developed a training, and I named it Leading by Example. And that's what we want to do coming up in the next, starting June the 15th. Then it'll be June the 22nd. We'll have July 13th and July 20th. We got 4 sessions, 4 hours each session. You can just hypothetically, Jackson Police Department call. And I told the commander or deputy chief, we got the classes, and you got 4 opportunities to send your people, and we want command staff. And I specifically said what I was looking for. We want the chief, the assistant chief, the sheriff, the undersheriff. We want the lieutenants, the commanders. They need to come sit down and get an understanding what paranoia, schizophrenia is. They need to know. So when their employees or officers react in a certain way, do something, you will have an understanding and may know why I asked them, well, why didn't you take them to call a CIT officer? Do we have a CIT officer on every shift? Mm-hmm. Those are the types of things that we're trying to get them to do. I just spoke with Sheriff Vance about 2 weeks ago, and I told him it would be a great thing to actually have a CIT officer on every shift that you have, especially out in the county, and hopefully and prayerfully we're going to have that with Jackson also. We're working on it. Each class we try to set aside 5 or 6 slots out of a 15-member class. Just for Jackson,
JPD.
For Jackson Police Department.
Hold that thought, Christy. Before we go to break, I want to remind you about our weekly show lineup. Tuesday at 7:30 p.m., Socrates Garrett Live. Wednesday at 6:30 p.m., The Tonya G Show. Thursday at 6:30 p.m., the doors of the church are open. Friday at 6:30 p.m., the Mississippi Link Live. And Saturday at 10 a.m., the USDA Adventurous Update. Be sure to tune in. We thank you so much for supporting WeBelieveDigital.com. You can also check us out on We Believe Digital Podcast on Facebook. We'll be right back with my guest, Christaine Williams. Socrates Garrett Live every Tuesday on WeBelieveDigital.com. Socrates talks politics, finances, and social issues that affect the Black community and so much more. Phenomenal guests and engaging conversation. Straight talk, no nonsense topics that are informative, educational, and inspiring. Socrates goes live with politicians, church leaders, business owners, and others. The time is now. Talking to you about us. Socrates Garrett Live every Tuesday on WeBelieveDigital.com. Bob knows it's never too early for a final expense policy to protect his son. Sue made sure that all their final expense policies are in place. Helen's final expense policy guarantees she won't be a burden to her daughter. Jane's mother's final expense policy covered her final arrangements and so much more. Your final expense policy can cover funeral services, medical bills, debt, and provide cash security. And there are no medical exams required. Call the KPG agency at 601-500-2751 to set up your policy today. You're tuned in to the Tonya G Show. Chrissy, go ahead and finish with what you were saying about the enforcement that you want in place, like the people that you want to come to this training.
Okay, I do what I usually don't do. It's leading by example. It'll be held at Hines Behavior Health, June the 15th, 22nd, July the 13th, and the 20th. And leading by example, this is my baby. It's a free mental health workshop, FREE, free. It's for the Tri-County area law enforcement, elected officials, agency directors, and clergy. And when we say clergy, we want clergy with an ordained clergy with a congregation. Right. The training topics, it would include disability rights, mental illness disorder, de-escalation, role play, and community resource. The goal of the mental health workshop is to help increase awareness of mental health as well as connecting departments and strengthening departments and agencies, community relationships. And that's what we've had. I
think that's beautiful.
We've had buy-in from, I'm just one of those people. I picked the phone up and I called and I wanted to speak to Sheriff Tucker, Randy Tucker up in Madison, and I actually know the undersheriff, Jeremy Williams. And I ended up talking to Jeremy, and he was like, Christy, we're in. Here's my email. I called over to Rankin County. I know Sheriff Baylor. I said, look, this is what I got going on, and this is what I want you all to be a part of it. He said, sure. And then when I called his deputy chief, ended up being one of my classmates from the police academy.
How about that?
So Reservoir Patrol is in, Hines Community College. We've been reaching out to everybody. Hines County Sheriff Department, Jackson Police Department. We want them to come sit down. We even got the Jackson Fire Department. AMR is going to actually be in the room together, and we're going to intentionally make sure it is not stacked with just one agency.
Right.
We want to buy in from all agencies. We're capping it off at 25 people because of social distance.
Right.
But it's at Hines Behavior Health. Dr. Kathy Crockett over there has been a jewel. And honestly, when I came up with the idea, thought of the name,
she was on board.
I'm just truly blessed. Everybody I have picked up the phone and called
has said yes.
To the presenters, didn't even know that I had even thought of them. Because when I say, okay, who do I want? Who are my soldiers? I know when I pick that phone up and call and say, hey,
I got
hit
the ground running.
We confirmed everything from the class to the layout to every minute, because I think people's time is valuable.
Indeed.
And if they're going to come and sit down, we want to give them something to go back. The Mississippi Department of Health, Wendy Baylor, the executive director, I send her a message. She say, Christaine, as soon as you get it, let me know. It'll be on their site. the registration form.
Now, would this be something that you're going to continue on? Because, I don't think it's something that you can just have one time. It would be something that you're going to have to continue doing. Is that what
it is? It is our plan. We stay in the Tri-County area, but this is something that we're going to be at the Sheriff's Association, the Chiefs Association, wherever they will let us in, we're going. Annually, I would like to see something like this happen every year, because the dynamics of the criminal aspect and mental health is running together.
Right.
Because some of the drugs that they're using is putting them in a psychosis.
Oh, wow. Talk about that, Christy.
Okay, as an officer, this is where me and the mental health people,
yes.
we as an officer, when I pull up and you're acting erratic, I don't know if it's mental or
it's
drugs. So that's why it's important to get this type of training, so that you will have that other tool to put on your belt.
Exactly. Now, what type of drugs are, I guess, that will put you in a psychosis state? Because let me say this too. Maxwell, what is his title? What's his name?
He's the director of the...
Is it Colonel Maxwell? Is he a...
You know what? He gonna get me.
But that's fine. When he got
Director Maxwell.
Director Maxwell. When he got up to speak, he said that 535 people have died from drug overdoses in the state of Mississippi. So more people have, and he said more people were affected in Hinds and Jackson County out of that 535. So more people have died from drug overdoses than folks that are being murdered in the streets when we talk about this crime crisis, Christy. So I wanted to point that out. But what type of drugs would put you in a psychosis state to where you can't even recognize if it's mental illness or if it's the drug? To
be honest, all of them.
Oh, gosh.
Because when you think of some of the marijuana that they're smoking now, spice, marijuana, ecstasy, you name it, and then they're mixing the meth and the heroin, and all that is all entwined together in this syrup that they're drinking, and the codeine. So... And you think about some of the kids, if you go and smoke marijuana, you don't know if it's dipped or not.
Oh, wow.
So it might be one hit from that marijuana, and it can fry your brains, literally.
Just that one thing.
That one thing could mess you up if you don't know what they're mixing it with. So you have no idea. You are truly taking a chance with your life when you hit that pipe, smoke, whichever way you want, or drink the syrup. So that's why I try to just stay away from them.
I got you.
That's the best way I can tell them, because you don't know what you're getting, and then some people may just do it as a joke. I'm gonna get this to Tonya just to see how.
You know what?
And then here you go running down the street, climbing up a pole, terrible. And we trying to tell you to come down.
That is terrible.
So you just don't know what are you getting when you say I'm gonna try this drug.
Absolutely. So May is actually Mental Health Awareness Month. I didn't know about that. I listened to an interview that you did with WNPR, and you talked about going to counseling yourself. Have you been affected by mental illness directly or indirectly in your family?
I have. My child went through some traumatic stuff, and just some things can happen in your life
that could trigger some.
And I just felt like it was getting a bit overwhelming. And what counseling, a lot of people think is somebody gonna put some kind of hypnosis over. It's really you going in there spilling your guts to a neutral person that don't have a dog in the race.
Exactly.
They're gonna probably give you some insight that you just wouldn't get. Because otherwise, me and you are okay. We're friends, and I don't want to hurt your feelings. Not that you hurt my feelings, but it's just some things you don't want to say. Well, no, Christaine, I don't think you should do that. Or that's not the way. But it's just more so it's therapeutic for you to somewhere so you can get out, and it's a judgment-free zone. You're not, they're not judging you in there. They in there to help you. Now, sometimes some of the stuff they say you probably don't want to hear it, but but it's nothing wrong with it. It's nothing wrong with going to talk to somebody, and I always try to. I'm grateful for the friends. It's a group of ladies that I got. We put.
So
it on.
You went as a family.
My son and I, we did go as a family, and then he went individually. I went, and we've gone as a family also. And that's why I tell people, if you're gonna have counseling within your household, the family needs to go.
Exactly.
Because if they giving me the coping mechanism, and you have no idea what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, why I'm not
Exactly.
saying this, or I need this time to just idle to myself, then it's useless.
Is it something that you continue to do? Are you continuing on with counseling, or was that just a period in your
No,
time?
I've gone back recently. I have. Sometimes when things just I went through some very emotional times. On last year, I had a son to go off to school, which I was looking for that. A relationship went to wherever, and I didn't even see it coming, just like a brick wall just hit me. It was just, I was like, oh God. And then I had a neighbor that I had been taking care of for 15, 16 years since I've been in my home, died by suicide.
Oh, Christy.
And that morning, I actually heard the gunshot. It was a Friday morning, November the 12th. I can tell you, 20th.
Ooh, wow.
And I thought it was the neighbors behind me slamming a door.
Mm-hmm.
So by 7 o'clock, his friend called, and everything prevented me from going in their house. I did that morning. I didn't go in, because if I had gone in, I would have found him, because his friend had told me even how to get in the house, but I didn't go in. So it was just, that was a lot. And I mean, and I'm grateful for my friends at the Department of Mental Health. We actually talked about it today. Actually, I'll be doing a PSA at the end of, I think it's, August, September, related to suicide. And my piece is when suicide hit your front door.
Oh, wow.
Because that's how I
That
felt
literally
like
happened.
it hit my front door.
We have 30 seconds. Christy, you want to say how
I'm
you can get in touch?
And Hines Behavior Health have a mobile crisis unit. The number is 601-955-6381. That's the mobile crisis, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you got anything going on in the Hines County area, call them. Even if you're not, they'll try to get you to where you need to be.
Miss Williams, I have enjoyed you, woman. You have got to come and co-host, because you can talk. You can talk, lady. I love it. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time on the Tonya G Show.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, ma'am. New set, new look, new network. Catch the Tonya G Show every Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. on WeBelieveDigital.com. Let's talk politics, business, the future, and more. Interested in being a guest? Email viralstreamtv@gmail.com. The Tonya G Show, where the guest is the star of the show. Every Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. live streamed on WeBelieveDigital.com. The average cost of a funeral is over $8,500. Are your loved ones prepared for this financial burden? If you are 85 years old or younger, Final Expense Life Insurance can ease that burden by paying up to $30,000 for funeral and burial expenses. No medical exams, rates will never increase, benefits will never decrease. Call now to lock in your lowest rate possible. Don't leave your loved ones to pay your debt. Call the KPG agency at 601-500-2751 to set up your policy today.
Have you had your Earthblend Coffee today? At Earthblend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earthblend Coffee. To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.